We're really excited to talk with you again today about AI. And specifically, we're going to talk about conversational AI. What's new, how we integrate with great experiences, and also how we deploy these into amazing end applications. Today, I'm joined by a few of our leaders in the space. Shantanu from Google leads our Dialogflow product. Kanan leads areas and investments of the Service Cloud product from Salesforce. And we're also joined by Thomas Jefferson, in particular Robert Neff, who leads digital innovation in a way that I think brings conversational AI into the patient and hospital experience in a truly innovative way. And we're really excited to share these applied applications with you this morning. All of this starts with a fundamental vision of why are we doing this. I think that matters a lot to what we do with the product, how we craft it, how we deploy it. So we'll spend a bit of time on that. But specifically, we'll also talk about what we're doing in the products. What capabilities, what areas of development that we've been doing over the last 6 to 9 months that are new and innovative, and then specifically what we've done to apply them, again, with our partnership with Salesforce and in applications in particular in a hospital setting. Our vision is crafted and framed very much around the customer experience. If you think about Google's top-level vision, and this frames a lot of what Shantanu and I do, it's start with the customer and everything else will follow. That's a really good place to start when you're thinking about having conversations. In particular, if you're having a conversation about selling a product, about helping a patient at the right moment in their journey through a hospital experience, or just helping somebody as they're on the couch trying to buy a product with a chatbot or seeing some issue with a bill, the customer experience really matters. And I think a lot of us have experienced moments, especially with automation, where there's just massive failure. Like, you know pretty quickly that something is going wrong with a bot. You don't have to watch John Oliver or the clip I think many of you probably have seen of like bots can go wrong really fast. It's kind of like an umbrella that doesn't work. You know really quickly that you're going to get wet, and you start to hit zero fast. You're like, I want to talk to somebody. But the other side of this is that there is an agent challenge. In particular, not everything that we're talking about here is about automation. We want to make sure that as agents engage with customers, with complex topics or areas that they may not have been trained on, or with rapidly moving evolutions of products or rollouts their companies have, that the agents are in great positions to offer amazing customer care. And stay tuned in particular to the Salesforce part of the discussion for that. We also want to empower every enterprise to access this, whether it's the average developer, and Shantanu will take you through the developer experience of Dialogflow, or the ability to integrate all of this into your own infrastructure. That's critical to us. We don't want you to have to move platforms to be able to take advantage of our technology. And in particular, if accessing our AI is not possible without a large investment or a large shift of infrastructure, fundamentally, our strategy and our vision also means that we have failed. And this is the kind of the POC hell that I think a lot of you have maybe been through with a lot of AI-type products, which is I can test something, I can try it on a single machine, but I cannot deploy it at scale. I can't train, I can't develop, I can't essentially bring this to more than one narrow use case. So whether it's training data, whether it's applying it outside of one specific narrow use case in your enterprise or with your clients, this is really important to us. So that brings us to what we're doing and why we frame our vision, but also how we apply our products to that vision. And in particular, we'll talk about 2 major product areas. The first is Dialogflow. This is the world's leading NLU platform, enabling experiences way beyond the chatbot. And in particular, it's enabled by the quality of its natural language understanding and the ability to actually take action with that language understanding. So once you reach a quality threshold, the next challenge is to be able to take action. The other product that we're going to talk about, and the other program, is our Contact Center AI program. And in particular, what Contact Center AI does is it deploys these same natural language technical capabilities into the challenge of customer service, whether by voice or by chat, and does the work of integration to enable these transformative experiences. And with that, I'll hand it over to Shantanu to talk about Dialogflow.
Thanks, Adam. With Dialogflow, we have had 2 amazing years. At Cloud Next 2017, we announced that we had crossed 150,000 developers, which we thought was a great number for an AI platform. But we're excited to announce that we have recently crossed 850,000 developers. We have basically doubled the number of developers on the platform over the last 12 months. Amazing growth. But I think what it also enables is these 850,000 developers are spread across different languages, different geographies, different use cases, different industries. So our NLU and speech has evolved over the time to serve these very varied use cases. So for a new customer coming on Dialogflow, they get to benefit from a really evolved machine learning stack that has faced all the challenges that these developers have thrown at it. And this growth has been accelerated a lot by the enterprise adoption that we have seen. So we launched our V2 Enterprise APIs. We GA'd them last April, so roughly 12 months ago. Today, we have thousands of enterprises on our platform using Dialogflow for their different business use cases, sending us billions of queries every year. And this makes us really happy because this goes to show the business value of having an automated conversational agent, be it a text bot, a voice bot, or a phone bot. And these enterprises vary from really large Fortune 20, Fortune 100 companies to really cool IoT startups that are designing their entire IoT experience around Dialogflow agents. And by the way, I know some of you are probably still on V1, so please switch to V2 as soon as possible. We're going to sunset V1 soon. We have almost all the client libraries already available in V2. Mobile client libraries had been a gap. The iOS client libraries were released last week, and Android libraries are coming out soon as well. Now, why are customers choosing us? I think the single biggest reasons why customers choose us is the awesome NLU and speech capabilities that we provide. When you sign up to Dialogflow, you essentially use the same NLU and speech stack that powers our assistant devices and other parts of Google. But of course, as a GCP paying customer, we ensure that your data remains your data, is not used for any model training whatsoever or by any other parts of Google. So you get to benefit from the rest of the Google, but doesn't go the other way around. And we do this at scale. So a lot of bot platforms out there serve a few thousand entities, a few hundred intents. But any decently large enterprise or any complicated agent soon starts running into scale issues with those limits. At Dialogflow, we today support up to 30,000 entities and up to 2,000 intents. And we are committed to pushing the envelope on that scale all the time, because we want to ensure that you don't have to think about scale when you make choices about your bot platform. So as you are thinking about which bot platform to go for, the first question you should be asking is whether can they serve NLU and speech at the scale that my agent will soon require. And that scale also comes with a lot of complexity. So Dialogflow is currently in use in very jargon-heavy industries like healthcare, and Thomas Jefferson is going to talk more about it, education, financial services. And our speech has gotten really good at understanding that industry-specific jargon. One of the video game companies came to us and said that we need to recognize words that pretty much don't exist in any dictionary whatsoever. And with the help of speech context and phrase hints that Dialogflow audio input provides, we were able to handle that use case. And I know some of you attended the discovery session a couple of days ago, and there are multiple other customers like Discover Card who have done similar studies comparing the NLU quality and speech quality of Dialogflow with other vendors and found us to be way above the rest. So this is an area of strength for us. It's an area of continuous investment, and we continue to improve on that. The other big strength is the international coverage that we have. We support 20+ languages. Internationalization more broadly is a focus area, not just for Dialogflow, but Google Cloud and Google more broadly. So we get to benefit from that. And we'll be launching many more languages soon. The third big component is integration flexibility. So with our contact center AI program and other programs, we make sure that you can serve Dialogflow in whatever channels you want to serve it in. So if you want to create a Slack bot, a Facebook Messenger bot, or a text bot on your website, a voice bot on Google Home devices, or a call center bot, you can do that with Dialogflow. And that flexibility is also available in the backend. Because we don't force you to migrate your backend over to a particular service or a particular cloud provider. You just need a webhook URL, and with that webhook, you can make calls to your backend and fulfill all the requests that you're getting through Dialogflow. So what are the use cases that we see Dialogflow being used for? I mean, traditionally, we have defined our use case along the 3 categories that you see at the top. But over the last year, we've seen many new use cases emerging as well. So of course, the biggest use case is customer service and B2C interactions. As I said, a lot of enterprises are coming to us and saying, we need one platform to serve our digital channels as well as our call centers. And that's something for you to think about as you make your choices as well. With Dialogflow being the flexible platform it is, you can use basically the same stack across different channels. We're also being used in other B2C scenarios, like really complicated agents for e-commerce. And think of them like shopping cart building scenarios, which are really complicated because you can have, I want a pizza and a Coke. By the way, can you change my Coke to Diet Coke? And going back and forth, adding more stuff to your cart and removing that from cart requires really complicated context management. Really happy that customers are finding Dialogflow useful for those scenarios. The second big use case that we have is around IoT devices or voice commands. So today Dialogflow is powering robotics companies, gym equipments, different vehicle manufacturers as in-vehicle assistance systems, home appliances, entertainment systems, et cetera. The third big use case is internal enterprise assistance, and that's the way a lot of enterprises get started on Dialogflow. So creating HR, IT chatbots, or organizational FAQ chatbots or voice bots for their team to ramp up on Dialogflow, and then finally take that to their customers. But last year, we saw a lot of new use cases emerging as well, especially during the holiday season. The biggest one was probably conversational marketing and conversational ads campaigns. So we had lots of products being launched or marketed through a conversational campaign on their website or through their search ads. And that's a big use case that is emerging. The second big use case that came up last year was assistive. Dialogflow as an assistive agent. So when a live agent is in conversation, and it ties in very well with our Agent Assist product, which Adam's going to talk about later, but providing turn-by-turn assistance to the live agent through the Dialogflow bot is something that has come up a lot. And of course, the RPA vertical has taken off, and Dialogflow is being used to power the NLU behind RPA, so extracting the entities or triggering off an RPA workflow using Dialogflow intent detection. Also, I'm really excited to announce that now we are officially HIPAA compliant. This enables a lot of healthcare use cases. A lot of our healthcare customers have been requesting for it. And we are really strong in the healthcare vertical, and I'm really excited to see that we're doubling down on that and probably enable a lot more healthcare usage.
And just to pause here, I think it's important to think of jargon-specific or internal use cases like HR use cases. A lot of those discussions are about healthcare-related topics. So whether it's sensitivity that's at the HIPAA compliant level or the ability to say to an internal team or an auditing team that we use a HIPAA compliant solution, it's really critical to think about, does your NLU scale to that, and does your system overall approach this type of data security?
And of course, Dialogflow is the default platform for creating actions on Google. The Assistant family, the actions on Google, has seen tremendous traction over the last year, and Dialogflow is serving that traffic. So it's a great way for us to learn on how people are interacting with the Google Home devices. We have some really exciting announcements around actions on Google coming up at I/O, so stay tuned for that. And with that, I want to hand it over back to Adam.
I'll take that. So we've talked a lot about conversational technology. And as we think about the Contact Center AI program, what this really means is taking that technology and, again, applying it to the vertical of customer care. And when we say that, it's three core components for us. Again, the Dialogflow agent that we just talked about, and those agents in voice and in chat, as well as two other products. In particular, assisting agents in real time during calls by doing real-time natural language understanding, and then surfacing assistive intelligence to the agent in real time. The other aspect is to how do you understand all of the different things that are going on in a contact center? It's kind of crazy if you think about it today. If you were deploying a mobile app or a website and somebody said, I'm not going to use any analytics, somebody would tell you that's just crazy. Why would you do that? But when you think about actually answering the question of what is going on in my contact center right now, not just the number of calls, not just the CSAT by survey, but what topics are being discussed, what's new, what's different today versus yesterday. That's still significantly dark data for a lot of our customers and clients. And when you have the ability to do hierarchical and clustering techniques where the AI is actually able to understand the relationships between topics and gather them, that's where we can start to present insights products. Now, the way we go to market in this is that we, first of all, develop the product and are announcing beta today. And that is a great advancement that enables production-level traffic to run through our systems. But the other aspect that's critical to this is that we deploy this technology via partners. We'll talk about this on the next slide. And starting today, we're announcing beta, but we're going to be rolling out more and more and more capabilities. As Shantanu mentioned, we're starting to see Dialogflow used in more ways to be kind of a coaching or assistant type capability. So we're seeing hybridization of turn-by-turn type activity with the assistive technology. We're also seeing more and more applications for that analytics type capability of now that we have the ability to cluster and group. How can that be used? How can that be used in real time? How can that be used in longer views of conversation, or how can that be used in quality metrics and compliance? But we're really excited by who we've partnered with to take this to market. In particular, these are the providers who you can get contact center AI from. This is not a product that you buy directly from us. And it's a veritable kingdom of the contact center world. In particular, we have a few new names up here that are different than what you saw about 6 or 9 months ago now. So we're excited to announce partnerships with 8x8, Accenture, and Avaya. And we'll also be talking a lot about our partnership with Salesforce in a few minutes. All of this, though, when you think about conversational technologies, is powered by a new approach and a new thought process around speech. And what we're really excited is that our speech products also enable not just understanding, but a different way of thinking about tuning, building, and deploying speech models. And in particular, if you're interested in speech session, I think we're actually doing a replay of yesterday's speech discussion at, I think, an AMC theater nearby at 11:40. So look for Dan Aaron's talk on this. So if you want to dive into speech, we have another session on that. But in particular, we think about speech not from a tuning perspective or a large professional services investment to create speech models, but we do things in a kind of AI-centric way, where we add context. And at every turn of a conversation, we can condition that model to understand what you're talking about. So if you have a bot or a model that can handle banking-related topics or IT-related topics, and your customers might be calling in for help with the website or help with their account, the speech model is likely a little bit different. And you need to be able to tune it in that context. And our development and our investments align with that. And again, that's where you're using the best of Google's technologies, in that we have to deal with that too on the consumer side of our business. The other aspect here that's really important is the quality of synthesis. And research shows time and time after again that if I speak like a robot, there's one aspect it actually sounds pretty annoying. And if you think about turn-by-turn and multi-turn conversations, users actually, they don't understand, or they don't communicate it specifically, but the quality of interaction matters. And as we move forward over the next year or two, it will be very apparent to consumers when they're talking with a high-quality bot versus when they're speaking with something that is very robotic. And the data actually indicates that the conversations are shorter and go to faster to escalation when they just get tired of talking to the robot. The other side is that the NLU benefits from synthesis. So if you speak much more like a human, people will speak back to you like a human. If you ask them for command and control type behaviors, you're going to get command and control type responses. And the Dialogflow NLU benefits from more rich engagement. We have, again, a set of partners who could take you through this veritable eye chart of how the system overall looks. And in particular, what this is covering are 3 amazing phases. 1, the integration with our telephony partners. 2, the closed loop of speech-to-text back through virtual agents and cloud text-to-speech. And then the assistive function, which, if you start right to left, talks and starts about with an agent desktop and putting the right articles and the right assistance for those articles. And with that, I want to actually bring up somebody who's in the leadership, essentially, of our industry on that assistive desktop, and Kanan from Salesforce.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam. So hi, everyone. I am Kanan, product manager at Salesforce, Service Cloud in particular. Super excited to be here, my first time at Next. So many of you might have heard yesterday, we made an announcement at the keynote. We're bringing Google's Contact Center AI, Service Cloud, and Einstein AI together to make it very flexible for our customers to provide an integrated and AI-powered customer success experience. But before we jump into actually how we're providing that experience, I want to take a moment to level set everyone on what Salesforce Service Cloud is. I don't know, with a maybe short poll of hands, does anyone know Service Cloud, Salesforce, kind of, sort of. Okay, so with Salesforce for Service, you can actually transform your customer and employee experience and provide that next level of customer success by providing a connected, intelligent, proactive, and personalized service. So connected, we provide a unified agent desktop, so agents now have a 360-degree view of their customer. But for intelligence, we supercharge your service experiences by embedding intelligence and using our automation suite, so workflows, next best actions, Einstein bots, to personalize across channels. So we've seen, in the recent past, the channels have exploded. So you've got Facebook Messenger, SMS, chat, video, communities, a lot of ways where consumers can interact with brands. We put the customer at the heart of every service operation, and we provide a consistent, personalized service no matter where your customers are asking you for help. And then lastly, if any of you are in the mobile field service workspace, we've got our field service solution to elevate our mobile workers and provide that proactive service, even integrated with IoT. And so because of those 4 ways of providing service, we're actually the number 1 in the Gartner Magic Quadrant. We're by far the leaders in this space, and we have been for the last 10 years. So that's a big achievement for us. And a lot of this is not just because of our products. A lot of it is because of the trust our customers have put in us, our rich partner ecosystem, and the trailblazers. So those are customers that take Salesforce to the next level. And with that little quick overview, we can jump into the first transformative experience. I'll actually have Adam play the video for you to see what we're building with Contact Center AI and Service Cloud.
Google Cloud and Salesforce are partnering to deliver AI-powered customer service experiences so that every company can transform their customer's experience. Let's show you Hulu's vision for scaling engaging experiences for their more than 25 million subscribers through the eyes of Lauren, a Hulu viewer. Hulu makes it easy for their viewers to get help anytime, anywhere. Instead of customers having to navigate a lengthy phone tree, a Hulu bot powered by Google Cloud's virtual agent technology can immediately engage viewers in a human-like conversational experience, help resolve issues 24/7, and seamlessly hand off the call to a human agent at the right time.
Hi Lauren, thanks for calling Hulu. How can I help you today?
Hi. I want to add the MBA package to my plan.
Sure thing. Looks like you've been watching on a Chromecast Ultra. Is this the device you'd be watching the game on?
Yep.
Perfect, I'd recommend our Hulu Plus Live TV plan. If you'd like, I can transfer you to one of our viewer experience advocates to get that set up.
That would be great. Thanks.
The human agent now has everything they need in the Salesforce Service Cloud console, including the full call transcript to expedite case resolution. Meanwhile, Google's Agent Assist technology automatically presents machine learning-driven recommendations, making it easy for agents to know what viewers need and get answers fast.
Hey Lauren, thanks for calling Hulu. It looks like you'd like to add the Hulu Live TV plan to get access to all of the basketball games. I'd be happy to help you out there.
That would be great.
Perfect. I'll update your plan to add Live TV.
As the call progresses, Agent Assist continues to surface new recommendations based on the context of the conversation.
Did you know that you could also watch Hulu Live TV on mobile devices? Would you like me to help you set that up?
Sure, I'd like that.
Great. I'll send over an article that will walk you through the steps for future devices as well.
Agents can even add more value to every conversation with the intent matching capability from Google Cloud Dialogflow and Salesforce Einstein to serve up the real-time recommendations and offers to keep viewers engaged and happy.
What else have you been watching recently besides basketball?
My husband and I have actually been binge watching Game of Thrones. We want to get ready for the final season.
Awesome! Did you know that if you add HBO through your Hulu plan, you can watch directly in the Hulu app? If you'd like, I can add HBO to your plan as well.
Yes, let's do it.
Agents are guided step by step through any business process. No memorization of what to do next required. The combined power of Google Cloud AI and Salesforce Einstein also makes call wrap-up easy with pre-populated case details, improving data quality and saving agents time as they move on to helping the next viewer. With Google Cloud and Salesforce, Hulu can now integrate AI into every service interaction and reimagine the viewer experience.
Cool. How amazing was that? I mean, any of you from the contact center space would have realized how amazing this is. We've used 3 technologies. We've used the virtual agent assist. The first time when Lauren calls up, she's not talking to a human agent, she's actually talking to a bot. That bot conversation then gets transferred to a real human agent, and as the agent is talking to Lauren or the customer, Google is in real time transcribing the call and providing the next action for the agent to take. So the agent's not searching manually for knowledge articles, they're actually being provided in real time recommendations as they're working through a case. So this is pretty transformative in the contact center space. The other integration that we're working with Google on is in terms of Einstein bots or the Dialogflow Advanced NLU. So Salesforce has their own version of Einstein bots. Bots allow you to scale your service operations. It's not possible to keep adding human agents to your contact center. You do need to scale, and bots is a good way to do that. We allow you to declaratively create bots, more conversational bots. You can deploy them on any channel, any digital channel. So you can create them on chat and then deploy them on SMS, Facebook Messenger, etc. And one of the ways that we're integrating with Dialogflow is using Dialogflow's advanced NLU capabilities. So Shantanu actually spoke about this quite in detail earlier. Dialogflow is probably the best product around for advanced NLU, where if you're a global customer and you have to deploy your contact center in different territories or around the world, Dialogflow, along with Einstein bots, will help you do that because there's a lot of multi-language support with Dialogflow. Did you want to add?
No, I just wanted to say, I think it's a great complementary partnership, and any existing Einstein customers who wants to expand to other languages or make use of other advanced NLU features like entity extraction, etc., can now plug in Dialogflow into their Einstein bot. So it's a great partnership for us. Yeah.
Awesome. And with that, if you please visit our booth, it's up in the same level, I think. Come to the Salesforce booth. You can actually see the makings of this video. It's actually live. So come check out our booth or take the Service Cloud trail. And with that, I will hand it back to Adam.
Sure. So I'd like to introduce our next speaker from Thomas Jefferson. And what's really important as you think about the patient experience or the hospital setting is the actual experience. And study after study talks about the actual experience mattering not just to happiness, but also to outcomes. And it's really exciting to see Dialogflow and our conversational technologies deployed in such an innovative setting. So please join us.
Great. Great, thank you. So those of you who may not be familiar with Thomas Jefferson University, we are a large academic medical center based in the Philadelphia and now spanning over out of Pennsylvania, New Jersey as well. Large academic medical center. We have about 14 acute care facilities. We're expanding rapidly. We're going to have likely another 4 in the next several months. We've been doing a number of acquisitions. Countless outpatient care facilities, urgent cares, and an entire health sciences and design university as well with almost 10,000 students. So we're a large player in the healthcare and education space. And what's unique about Jefferson is we have a group which is called the DICE Group. And I'm going to talk about that real briefly so you understand what makes what we do at Jefferson and really essentially possible. The DICE Group was started at Jefferson about 3.5 years ago. I joined Jefferson, was brought over by our Chief Digital Officer, who is Neil Gomes. He actually spoke here on Tuesday about some other bot work that we're doing. But the group has about 150 people split into thirds. A third of them are developers who are working in my group. Another third of them are designers working on research and analysis to design workflows and design processes that are focused very much on transforming the patient and student experiences. And then we have another group that is focused on focused on support, training, documentation, and operations to make all the technology that we build in this group work throughout our healthcare system. And what technology are we building? We are building and bringing digital technologies that are very common in other sectors, like what we see in retail, entertainment, transportation, and so forth, and trying to apply that same type of technology, that level of digital experience that patients and people find in every other aspect of their lives, and apply it to their experience with healthcare, because that is something that is very much lacking, not only in the US, but throughout. Oop, I just went back, sorry about that. So how do we do this, and what are some of the core areas we think about as we're going down this path? We think about access. We think of all the different services that we provide to patients, whether it be surgeries, outpatient appointments, lab visit or lab tests, imaging visits, and we say, how can we use technology, how can we bring digital technology to open up that access, to make sure that the most people are getting access to those services at the times that they need them? We look at convenience. We look at how do we make sure that there is as little friction as possible when customers, patients, are interacting with our health system. So that means meeting the patient, meeting that consumer where they are in whatever channel they're most comfortable. So whether that's through a website, through a call center, through mobile technologies, IoT devices, wherever they happen to be, making sure that we are meeting them and making it as frictionless of a process as possible. And finally, we're doing this so they have the best experience they can at Jefferson. We want that because we want them to be engaged in their healthcare, and we want them to come back and stay healthy. So to the extent that we can provide the best experience, we enable them to do that. We bring digital to all the different aspects of services that we provide. So whether it's the care that we provide to our patients, the learning we provide to our students, the work that we're doing from an operations standpoint, even the multi-millions of dollars of research grants and federal funding that we have, and then even to how we handle philanthropy and donations into our organization. So like everything else that consumers find in the rest of their lives, we expect and we are trying to bring that digital transformation to healthcare as well. So this is a sample of a future hospital room. Folks who work in healthcare maybe have seen stuff like this before, but as you can see, it's a very bright, sterile, clean environment. It looks kind of fun to be in, looks a little bit futuristic. There's a lot of technology in this room. There are a number of different screens with information projected both for the use of the provider on the left-hand side of the screen and then for the use of the patient on the right-hand side of the screen. You can see multiple different ways that the patient may interact with this technology, same with the provider. And there are a lot of companies that are focused on bringing this to reality right now as the future of a hospital room in a hospital setting. However, we at Jefferson think the future of the healthcare environment will look something more like this. And this is what we're going for. We're going for a simple, comfortable, and personalized experience when you're getting your healthcare. We feel that the best way to provide healthcare to our patients is do it in a way where it's not intimidating, it's not different from something that they normally do, and it's very easy to interact with. And that's why when we look at the future environment for how we provide care several years down the line, obviously, as we're marching towards this vision, it's going to be something more like this than the hospital room that you saw on the slide before. One of the ways we achieve this is not only through the technology, working with Google and Dialogflow that I'm going to talk about, but looking at other technologies as well, and looking at the concept of healthcare with no address, and pushing the healthcare out and the services out to where patients are when they need it. And that healthcare with no address concept is a concept that Dr. Klasko, who is the CEO and president of Jefferson, speaks about quite often. And that's a major vision and direction that we go in when we're focusing on building out technology. We're trying to avoid situations like this. This is not a comfortable situation for someone who has just undergone a surgery, feeling very sick, not sure that they exactly know what's wrong with them. They don't want to wake up in the middle of the night to a room with beeping devices, lights on them, and just kind of an intimidating environment. So we are trying very much to move away from this type of an experience to move to a much more comfortable experience. All right, so smart speakers, I don't think I have to convince anyone in this room that smart speakers and voice assistants are important and growing, and these are things that people are using at home very much today, and it's only going to continue more. I could put any number of charts like this from different sources up there. They all show that there's tremendous growth in this area. So what are some of the things that make voice a great way to interact, to have patients interacting with the system, and what are some of the reasons for that? whereas there's a huge barrier to use or a huge amount of friction with downloading an app, getting out a device, signing up with an account to engage in a mobile app to check your vital signs, or I'm sorry, not your vital signs, but your discharge summary, your nurses' names, and so forth. There's a lot less friction when it comes to using voice, and populations who were much more reluctant to engage in technology, whether it be a mobile app, again, or a website or a patient portal, are much more willing to try the concept of using voice, because voice is something that they've been communicating with and getting data in and out of their heads with for their entire life. So populations, again, that have been resistant to using an app that we throw at them are much more willing to try using a voice-based technology to interact with the system. So where are we today? We have a smart rooms pilot up and live. We've had it live for several weeks at one of the floors in one of our hospitals, and that pilot is giving us very interesting data on what types of skills and what types of features patients like, and all sorts of other things that we didn't necessarily think we were going to learn at the beginning of the pilot. But we've seeded the pilot with some very basic skills, which were very challenging to build, but we're able to set an environment where we could collect a lot of data on what's going to be used and what's not going to be used. So we have basic environmental controls. We have control ability for the TV, for the HVAC systems, lights in some cases. We have a lot of information about what's going on for that patient for the day, when there's their food coming, the names of their doctors, information about their doctors, and so forth. And then the general information about weather and so forth that you would expect in a smart assistant. And we're doing this, of course, in a fully HIPAA compliant way. So what are some of the things that you might expect a patient to ask about when they're in the environment? We surveyed nurses, we surveyed doctors, and we surveyed patients both before we got into this pilot and now that we've had the pilot ongoing. We actually have the analytics of what patients are asking. And there's something that's very interesting that's kind of a whole segment that's missing from this list, which is actually anything about their clinical care. Patients care so much about their environment when they're in the hospital for a prolonged period of time. The majority of the things that they're often asking about, when is their food coming, what is for lunch, when are they getting discharged, when can their family visit, and so forth, what's on TV tonight, can I change the channel, and so forth. These are the things that patients are very interested about, and it goes very much to how they evaluate their overall experience of being in the hospital, which, by the way, is one thing that or one of the many things that hospitals are graded on by our patients, and we can get paid very often based on what type of experience that patient has had as an aggregate. So where are we going with the concept of a smart room assistant? We have a pilot obviously live today. We're learning a lot from that, again, not only with what types of skills and features are important to the patients, but other types of ancillary issues with running a pilot like this and running a system like this in a healthcare environment. We think that room control and environmental control is one of the areas that we see a lot of interest and a lot of usage. So we're going to continuously be adding more to that and adding more capabilities. We are looking at more automation and anticipation. So using a system like this to start anticipating the type of environment, the type of concerns that a patient has, and addressing those preemptively. Moving on from that, we're trying to look at how do we make this assistant, which we're calling a cognitive patient concierge, beyond just the experience in the hospital room, and start to ask some questions before they show up, ask some questions and provide some information after they leave, to hopefully get to a point where this cognitive concierge follows the patient from the point at which they decide that they need to come to Jefferson through their visit while they're with us, whether it's one day or a multi-stay visit, and then after they go home and make sure that they stay healthy throughout the recovery. So question from a technology standpoint, why might we not just put a Google Home device in a patient room, or from that matter, an Amazon Alexa device? Well, anyone? So we noted earlier, it's very nice. HIPAA, huge concern from a patient privacy standpoint. Obviously, the announcement today and the information about Google and Dialogflow being HIPAA compliant is extremely exciting to people in the healthcare environment. I'm sure it will be all throughout all the different healthcare IT news things, articles and blogs tomorrow. But there are other reasons besides just HIPAA compliance that we decided to build essentially our own system and device for doing this. A consumer-grade device, such as a Google Home or an Alexa or any of the other virtual smart speakers that are out there, it's not really suited for a commercial environment. Everything from IT infrastructure, IT security, management, updates, even down to how would you actually control IoT devices in the room. All of that technology that works really well in a consumer's home in their that household residential environment doesn't exactly translate one-for-one into a hospital environment. So we actually had to build a lot of technology to get an IoT smart speaker working in a healthcare environment. And a lot of that technology obviously is based on microservices and cloud services that we are leveraging from Google. But we built out the Giot platform, the Jefferson IoT platform and framework, which is specifically made for managing and processing interactions between IoT devices in a patient room, specifically the smart speaker device that we've created. We've also had to create a number of internal APIs to serve information back and forth to this system. So you can't change, a great example of this is you can't change the channel on the TV if the system doesn't know the channel lineup. Well, if any of you have ever been in a hospital before, you know that the channel lineup is usually non-existent. And if it is, it's a photocopied paper 25 times that's handed to you by the nurse. So just getting some of this data and putting it into an API format that we could call and maintain and use to actually control some of these devices was another huge hurdle that we had to do as part of this project. So once we got up and running, the system, oops, I keep going back, I'm sorry about that. Once we got up and running, we ended up with a system that looks something like this. So you have the Jefferson environment, and the Jefferson environment's got the patient environment, of course. It's got the software, the Jefferson Cognitive Assistant suite of software that we've built out, and then of course we've got services on the Google Cloud Platform. And just to take you very quickly through the flow, we start off with number one, where a patient might ask a question, or whether it's when is their food being delivered, or can we change the channel on the TV? That gets passed over to the Google Cloud Platform, which is processed into text. It's processed through Dialogflow so we can figure out the intents. We bring that back to our request fulfillment library where we figure out and match that intent to a specific fulfillment library that we have to get answers, or potentially pass it down to the Jefferson IoT platform to control a thing in the patient room over in number 6. Once we figure out that we've completed the action to the satisfaction of the patient, we generate some sort of response, which we then pass back to the Google Cloud Platform to put it back into some verbalized response that we can then pass back in step 8 to the patient and let them know that we successfully completed their task, or we have a follow-up question for them. So that's the essential flow that we take to lay out this experience. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Adam.
Great, thank you. The experiences you just saw, both from Salesforce as well as Thomas Jefferson, are really emblematic of our thesis, which is if you start with the customer, and everything else will follow. Whether you're starting with the Hulu customer who's calling in to add something to their plan or ask a question, to the actual agent who's struggling to actually answer the thousands of different questions that might get asked, or the hospital experience where we're trying to actually make that, what can be very scary, actually into something that's very comfortable, and what can be very challenging for not just the patient, but the families that are around them. And if you start again with the user, you can usually pattern back to then the challenges that Shantanu was describing. Let's start with understanding the user. The NLU has to be really good. The fact that right now we're actually talking about that as like, oh, that's the easy problem, that's kind of crazy. But honestly, that's the type of investment that we've made in our cloud platform to do this, and so that you can focus on the other stuff. So you can focus on the Einstein bot and the next best action and all of the other automations that you want to drive efficiency and great customer service and understand everything about an interaction and then take action on behalf of that. Or if you want to actually change the channel because the person in the hospital room's experience will be a lot different if they don't have to watch what's just on that TV or they're cold. I mean, these things matter. And when we're talking about conversation, understanding is critical, and then those connections to every other system just make this all possible. So whether it's the 850,000 developers or the connections we're able to make into the world's leading platforms, we're really working towards, again, that customer experience and the integrations. And the end use cases really start, if you're thinking about getting started or diving in, yes, learn how to use Dialogflow. Yes, dive in and engage with the overall experience you want for your agent with any one of our partners, but also really, really think about the end user experience that you want. And on the flip side, like actually measure it, like actually do studies and actually see how people talk and how they engage. So when we think about things like our Contact Center AI program, we look at that Dialogflow capability, that agent assist capability, and the analytics that power it. Because people say all sorts of stuff, and they tell you what they want, whether it's the agents or the actual end customers. It's really important to have the analytics to be grounded in truth, and then to serve those end customer use cases. So with that, I think we're going to have a few minutes for questions for any one of us, if that works well. Thank you all our speakers as well.